Okay, let's dive right into this explainer on the architecture of financial freedom. Today, we're pulling directly from our source material to really break down the blueprint of wealth, and honestly, to discover what it truly means to build a life of absolute independence. The mechanics of wealth building are so often buried under heavy, boring jargon, but we're going to completely strip all of that away today. Instead, we're looking at the actual math, the real structure behind absolute financial autonomy. So, what does financial freedom mean? Seriously, I want you to pause for a second and really consider what that phrase means to you. It's a term that gets thrown around so much it's kind of lost its edge, right? Are we just chasing this societal illusion, the flashy idea of having a super high income just to find really aggressive consumption? Or are you ready to uncover the structural reality of wealth? Because our source material highlights a pretty staggering paradox. A huge percentage of six-figure earners are actually living paycheck to paycheck. They're totally trapped by lifestyle creep. Yeah, they have cash flow, but they have absolutely zero structural wealth. So how you define this concept for yourself today literally dictates whether you're building a temporary sandcastle or a permanent fortress for your future. And to move past those illusions, uncovering the truth is where we have to start. The mainstream noise always tells us that, hey, simply stashing 10% of our income into a standard savings account is magically going to buy us freedom. But the data, it shows a completely different reality. With average inflation historically just eating away at our purchasing power and traditional savings often yielding pretty negligible returns, that standard advice is actually a mathematical blueprint for falling behind. It's crazy. True financial independence isn't some random windfall or lucky stock pick. It's a hidden, highly deliberate architecture. We have to ruthlessly strip away these comfortable, outdated myths if we actually want to see the real framework underneath. Which brings us to the myth of getting rich quick versus the truth of building a deliberate architecture. This is such a dangerous dynamic. So many people fall for the illusion of overnight wealth, right? It's like a house of cards built on hyper-speculative assets, day trading trends, and essentially treating the market like a lottery ticket. But our source text reveals that true wealth is engineered. It is meticulously, deliberately constructed over time. The massive flaw in that get-rich-quick mentality is that it completely ignores risk-adjusted returns and the catastrophic wipe-you-out impact of market volatility. Deliberate architecture, on the flip side, relies on the totally unsexy but mathematically unstoppable forces of compound interest, diversified asset allocation, and strictly controlled withdrawal rates. Now, what freedom really means. If we finally discard that myth of overnight success, we're left figuring out what freedom actually looks like for you, personally. And this is where the abstract gets highly actionable. You have to clearly define what this structure looks like before you can even begin to assemble it. Going by our source data, this means calculating your exact target number, often using frameworks like the 4% rule. It's that exact mathematical threshold where your invested capital generates enough annual yield to completely cover your living expenses, all without depleting the principal. Calculating that specific, tailored target, that is the absolute cornerstone of everything we are constructing today. Let's look at this definition. Financial freedom is a deliberate structural architecture requiring the discovery of truth to fully realize and achieve. Essentially, freedom isn't an accident. It requires confronting the often uncomfortable realities of your current financial habits, truly understanding the silent erosion caused by taxes and inflation, and, this is the hard part, actively choosing delayed gratification over immediate consumption. It's a deliberate reality we've got to construct, literally beam by beam. The discovery of truth here means recognizing that your money must be treated as a workforce. You are deploying it strategically to build your independence. The journey basically breaks down into three distinct phases: discovering the truth, understanding the meaning, and achieving the goal. Phase 1, discovering the truth, is waking up to those mathematical realities we just talked about: inflation, compounding, real asset accumulation. Phase 2, understanding the meaning, is the crucial alignment phase. It's mapping those brutal mathematical truths onto your actual life. You have to decide what you truly value. Do you value a luxury car today, or the freedom to never work a mandatory Tuesday ever again? Right? Only after aligning those values do we get to phase 3, actually achieving the goal. The construction can't start until that blueprint is finalized. Looking at the architecture of wealth, discovering this truth acts as the very foundation of our building. We see it time and time again in the data. Highly paid professionals, athletes, lottery winners, people who experience a massive influx of cash but completely lack this foundational understanding. And what happens? Well, they overleverage, they succumb to lifestyle inflation, and eventually the entire structure totally collapses under the pressure of its own maintenance costs. True architecture of wealth absolutely requires a bedrock understanding of cash flow management and defensive asset protection. Without that unshakable foundation, whatever speculative investments you build on top are going to crumble the second the market turns. The truth about financial freedom. Our source material relies heavily on this specific, non-negotiable prerequisite. This isn't just a catchy phrase, it's the bedrock concept holding up the whole architectural framework. And the truth is this: your time is fundamentally finite, but capital is theoretically infinite. As long as you are trading hours for dollars, your wealth has a hard, impenetrable ceiling. The truth about financial freedom is that you must cross the threshold where your capital's rate of return exceeds your cost of living. That is the absolute, non-negotiable prerequisite for everything that follows. So, how to achieve it? Once that foundational bedrock is firmly in place, we can finally shift from theory to action. The source explicitly directs us to transition from identifying our target to the literal construction phase. And get this, the very first action you must take isn't actually investing, it's aggressive debt elimination. High-interest consumer debt is essentially reverse compounding. It's a massive structural flaw that will rot your foundation from the inside out. By plugging those leaks and automating your capital deployment into diversified assets, you finally begin the hard work of actual building. Step 1. Discover the truth. Step 2. Understand what it really means. Step 3. Achieve it. As we review these steps, we really need to look at the friction points. Why do so many people get permanently stuck between Step 2 and Step 3? Well, the source text points heavily to behavioral economics. People logically get it, but then the market dips by 20% and bam, panic sets in. They abandon their deliberate architecture and revert straight to emotional decision-making. Discovering the truth means building a system that actively protects you from your own worst impulses, ensuring you have the structural integrity to hold steady and reach that final phase, no matter the economic weather. Which leaves us with the ultimate question. Are you ready to build your foundation? Understanding the blueprint, the math behind compounding, and all those behavioral traps, that's only the beginning of the work. Now it's time to take that first real step. Whether that means auditing your expenses tonight, calculating your exact target number, or automating your very next investment, the tools are right here in front of you. I really hope exploring the underlying architecture of wealth today leaves you absolutely eager and ready to construct a completely independent